Hey, this is Anthony out in a little drizzly San Diego today.
And this is Charles from hot Atlanta, Georgia. And we just wanted to kind of say a little thanks to everyone who's had an opportunity to listen to our show and watch our show. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We've gotten some other feedback that may not be negative, but may not be entirely positive. But we appreciate any feedback that we get. And as we've kind of opened this up to close family and friends, we hope that if you like it, that you might even share it with some of your family and friends that we may not know about, and and keep giving us that feedback, and hopefully we just get better with time. All right, we're gonna start talking today about some news that came out of California. I think it's really interesting. I think was it about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks ago.
The state Supreme Court of California essentially lifted the ban on same-sex marriages. And you're out in California. Do you know any history behind what was going on in California prior to this California State Supreme Court ruling?
I just know that there was a ruling that came down about 2 weeks ago that basically said that they were lifting the ban that was on the gay marriage, if I understand correctly, and now there might be potentially a movement to try to actually, I guess, constitutionalize the inability for people for gay marriages to occur.
When I researched it, it looked like California already had some laws in place that allowed same-sex couples to receive the same types of benefits that you would receive if you were married anyway. So if you were getting these same types of benefits, what is the big issue with having something that actually is on paper that says we're married?
Honestly, I think a lot of it's just I think the ideal of being able to do something that, most everyone else has essentially sovereign rights to do. But as far as like the point about having the same benefits, now I actually have had the experience of working in benefits for a particular department for a particular company, which I will not mention. They're actually, the rules aren't exactly the same, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's equal. And I think that's kind of what they're looking at, because for the most part, I know, for instance, if you were to offer spousal coverage let me rephrase that. If you had insurance on yourself and then you had spousal coverage, typically that would be completely tax-free. But if you have a dependent, or excuse me, a domestic partner that is also on the benefit with you or on insurance with you, then typically that's actually taxable. That portion of it is taxable.
Exactly. That's the reason why they said it, is because essentially you're creating a separate category as far as marriage is concerned. And of course, then when you start thinking about that, then that means that it's unconstitutional according to the state court. Do you agree with that?
This kind of goes to that topic, man, where it's like, personally, I do, because it's you're saying that you're not allowing two individuals that essentially, love each other to be able to, engage in what everyone else, like I said, that has sort of the sovereign rights to do, and that's to legally and bindingly jump into the institution of marriage. And it kind of goes back to, and I know some people don't necessarily like to talk about this or make this relationship with it, but it's kind of a civil rights kind of thing to a certain extent, in terms of like not having the right or the ability to go do something that other people that's in the same situation have the right to do.
Okay. I think that's a good argument. But there might be some people out there that would say that when you look at civil rights, you can't help being born black or Asian or white or what have you. Can you help being gay? I mean, are you born that way?
I don't think anyone can really definitively say yes or no. I mean, I do know in psychology wise, there have been, behavioral studies that have been done with, twins and separated at birth, that whole type of thing, doing essentially, experiments without, just kind of by separating them to a certain extent and seeing how they turn out. And there's been some studies that indicate that there are some genetic links, and others that say they aren't. I mean, it's like, are you born fat or are you not? It's kind of the same kind of thing. Is there a fat gene? Is there a gay gene? I don't know.
All right. Hey, with this such a hot topic in California, I believe that there's going to be a referendum in the November election to possibly institute a constitutional amendment to the California state constitution banning same-sex marriage.
Yeah,
Thoughts on that?
I think that's ridiculous. It's a waste of time. I don't understand why really what. It kind of is. I just think it's silly.
But I think there's 20 plus states that actually have that written into their constitutions already. Several other ones that are looking at doing it. And as far as allowing same-sex marriages, I believe Massachusetts is the only other state that currently allows that. So,
but is that? I'm sorry. With the Massachusetts thing, aren't there some limitations to that too, or is that pretty much completely like it? You can get married and you have all the same rights and all that.
Well, my understanding of the limitations of not just Massachusetts and California is, let's say, for instance, you decide to get married to a same-sex partner. That marriage is only valid in that state.
That's kind of silly.
But I mean, for those advocates of same-sex marriages, I mean, if it's really important to you, again, that term marriage, to actually have that term apply to you and your partner, then maybe it's something that you'll do. Moving on, another topic very similar to that is the military don't ask, don't tell policy. It's been in effect since the Clinton years back in the mid 90s, I believe. And essentially, gays and lesbians, the question that is asked often is, can gays and lesbians serve in the military? There's no question about it. Gays and lesbians can serve in the military, but they can't do it openly. How does don't ask, don't tell work? Essentially, you can't tell anyone that you're gay, and no one, commanders from, the lowest levels all the way up to general officers, are not supposed to ask you if you're gay. What do you think? Does that work? I think that it works. But, before I tell you what I think, let me hear what you think.
I think during the climate of which it was entered, maybe that's what was tolerable to people. So therefore, that's the way they acted on it. Obviously, the military being the highest level of machismo that's out there, then that type of profession. I think sports is kind of in the same category. There's some people may have an issue with that tolerance, but again, I think in this climate, in today's time frame, I think it is time to sort of lift that whole thing. And because I think part of it is that it creates a level of again, intolerance.
Well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But, at the same time, the military has a pretty specific mission. And when it comes down to life and death, if do you think that it's a valid argument from those folks that like the don't ask, don't tell policy that, if you have someone who's gay or lesbian, that affects the mission?
I don't know. I mean, because if you're focusing on that being an issue as opposed to can this person serve the country and can this person do their duty, I think that's not necessarily that person's issue. I think it's the person's issue that has issue.
I'm not saying this is my personal opinion. I'm trying to speak to the proponents of the don't ask, don't tell policy. If that affects me to defend that position, I mean, is that logical? I mean, is that not logical? Is that reasonable for the military to have the don't ask, don't tell policy?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that works and maybe that's okay. And I'm not saying that we need to go topsy-turvy and like turn the military all upside down and say we got to do this. But all I am saying is that, this promotes a level of prejudice to a certain extent, or gayism, anti homosexual
homophobia.
Homophobia. There you go.
When I look at the don't ask, don't tell policy, I think that it actually works because my time in the military, you knew, not always, not 100% of the time, but you knew who was gay and who was lesbian. Nobody was asking, nobody was telling. So I thought that it worked. Gays and lesbians got to serve in the military, and I think for both parties, it's a balancing act. All right. Is it 100% probably the solution? I don't know. Okay, I'm not that knowledgeable, and I don't make those types of decisions. But I will say that it worked.